start the show.
For Thursday, September 19th, 2019. Welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special episode of This Is Only a Test. Not only because every episode is special, but because we're in a very special week.
We are?
We are in a very special week. You know what? Is today the 19th? Yeah. I guess by the time you're listening to this, it is the 19th, right? Thursday, 19th. But Friday, September 20th, a bunch of stuff's happening. This is a big week. I was over at Gary's house this weekend. Yes, Jeremy Williams, co-host of the podcast, introducing. Jeremy Williams is here, everyone.
Hi.
And also Kishore Hari.
Hi.
Hi, guys. I was over at Gary's house, and they were saying what a momentous week it was going to be because, one, iPhones are coming out. Big deal. The Apple Watch is coming out as well. You also got the Nintendo Switch Lite being released on Friday.
More interested.
As well
this
as
is the Switch with the it's not detachable.
Correct.
And slightly smaller.
Smaller screen, way more portable, good battery life.
No, let's be honest, it's not way more portable.
I mean, the Switch is kind of bulky. The Switch is portable, but like seeing the photos and the videos of people holding the Switch Lites, it's pocketable.
All right,
almost. Cool. It's back pocketable. And the Zelda remaster is coming out.
The Game Boy game.
The Game Boy game being remastered.
Link's Awakening.
Link's Awakening looks beautiful. It's gorgeous. Also, Untitled Goose Game.
Yes. I'm there for it.
Is it just what is this game about? What happens in this game?
It's about a goose that's just really trying to mess with humans.
Are you the goose?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who won't? I mean, yeah, you want to be the goose. You want to be the goose.
It's just this game is it gets a lot of press.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it's novel. And what else? Oh, I guess by the time you're listening to this, Apple Arcade would have already been launched for people who want to try that.
Why is that? Is it out tomorrow?
It's out on. It's on the 19th.
Okay, on tomorrow, like as in Thursday.
Yes,
very good.
Or as people for them listening to it today.
Yes, got it.
And I think it's even like it was Gary's dog's birthday or something. But anyway, big week for them.
Big week
for a lot of people. Momentous week. How are your weekends?
Swell. Yeah.
Do anything fun? Anything interesting?
Pretty uneventful
No.
for me.
Yeah.
No.
How about you?
I almost had jury duty like this week. You know, that was exciting. I was called, and interestingly, there was some people there that I recognized. 2 people.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Doesn't that automatically disqualify you for jury duty?
I don't think
know them?
they like you to know the defendant.
Right.
I don't think they like you to know the attorneys. But I don't know if there's real strict rules against knowing other jury members because San Francisco is a small town after all.
It's not a small.
Must
town.
happen
There's
all
like
the time.
800,000 people in this town.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be a very social person.
So I didn't even get called up on there to talk to anybody.
Really?
I was just in the pool.
And then the both attorneys, they looked over the pool and then they I like the cut of that person's jib. Let me bring him up and ask him a few questions.
I think that's what they do, but they call it random.
They pretend.
Yeah.
The show is that it's random. You didn't have a kind face.
It's like
you didn't read as neutral.
It's like the random TSA searches.
Yeah, you should have projected more Buddha.
I'm glad I wasn't called.
Yeah, it would have taken you out for who knows how long.
Yeah, exactly. And the crime happened in my neighborhood.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You were potentially directly affected.
Exactly.
Your community.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very exciting.
Did you talk about your past relationship with the police and the service you've done for the police and reporting crime?
Are you outing me as the criminal that I am?
No.
What are you talking about?
You've been an assistant to the police. Of assistance.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Right?
I catch package thieves on a monthly basis.
That's right.
No, they didn't ask me anything, man.
Oh, okay.
Didn't have a chance.
I didn't realize Jeremy was a snitch over here.
Next time.
Narc. Definitely. He's part of the ring team of package thief narcs. Okay, well, I was down in LA this weekend. I was at Son of Monsterpalooza down there just for the day. Flew in the morning, flew out. It's the smaller event counterpart to the spring big special effects makeup show, and it was a lot of fun. It was at the Burbank Marriott, still super crowded. It's like 100 degrees down there, but saw a bunch of familiar faces. Also, it's a convention where the organizer brings in some new vendors, and I didn't get a chance to talk with everyone I wanted to because I was there for literally 4 hours before I had to jet. But talked to some people. A lot of these artists there have day jobs who work at special effects firms or video game companies, and then they bring their personal projects to a show. And for one example, one artist for day job does the artistic finish on animatronics that you might see at theme parks, but in his spare time does sculpture work and some animatronics of his own. And so he had some really cool animatronics shown there. Some assemblage art, people kind of kit bashing with different toys and found goods. One company I didn't get a chance to talk to, but a company that makes eyeballs. And they made all the eyeballs for Dark Crystal, Age of Resistance, for all the puppets.
So good.
Yeah, and they had a whole booth there with just like eyeballs of all different sizes.
Adam's got an eyeball guy.
Yeah,
he had him.
You want a good eyeball guy.
You do, especially like he made it for. He engaged his eyeball guy for the 2001 Baby.
Yeah. Yep. You got to get the right size. They're not perfectly hemispheres because you have the little bump. The paint finish on eyeballs is really important. I wish I had a chance to chat with eyeball makers.
I did a deep dive into eyeball creation for when I did big screen science on Blade Runner.
I thought you were going to say Last Action Hero.
Well, what I found fascinating is the way they get the capillaries laid on isn't by paint. They use silk threads that they fray, and they like literally just like
lay them down.
Really?
And then sort of paint over them to get the glossy texture.
Yeah.
And then I put the crowd through a test to see if they could pick out the fake eyeball.
Out of images?
Out of images.
Oh, you didn't have like real eyeballs and fake eyeballs side by side.
Which one has the uncanny valley?
Well, I'll just tell you that it's really hard.
Yeah.
And fake eyeballs aren't round.
Yeah.
Like real fake eyeball.
Okay.
Real good fake eyeballs.
Yeah.
Yes, the quality ones. Yeah. Anyway, the videos from Monster Palooza will be rolling out soon on the site. But you guys, a good weekend. Not big. I went to the mall.
I'm just gonna tell you, I don't do much on the weekend, Norm.
What?
Let's just cover that right now.
The weekend is like the best time to do stuff.
Going forward, that question is unnecessary. I have never had a good answer to that question, and I will not.
My answers are usually I took my kid from point A to point B for their thing.
Yeah,
things to
point
look forward
C.
to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm looking at the glimpse of the future right here.
Guitar lessons.
All right, well, we got top story then.
Top story this week.
We had a debate about what to do as our top story this week because 2 weeks ago we talked extensively about the Apple products that were announced and are coming out this week and now have been reviewed by early reviewers. And we'll get into that. I think probably more appropriate for the tech news section. But we did get a huge, big pop culture news dump this week, and we thought it might be appropriate to talk about reboots because there were a ton of announced potential rumors, maybe some formally announced reboots of beloved and maybe not so beloved TV series, movies, franchises that now Hollywood wants to get another stab at.
You have such a massive list here.
It's crazy.
What did this all happen this week?
This all happened this past week. Now,
Crazy.
a bunch of them are packaged together because of a new streaming service that was announced. So NBC Universal has announced their Netflix competitor, probably more appropriate to call it a more CBS All Access competitor because they're both existing networks with huge library, back catalogs, and new shows that they want to develop, but they want to put it out there. NBC Universal, big conglomerate, Comcast, all owned by them.
I thought NBC was on Hulu. Is it not?
NBC, I think, is on Hulu.
It is.
But just like Disney is part of Hulu, Hulu was the stopgap measure, it seemed. Like Hulu was all the networks coming together to fight off Netflix. But now that there's more money in streaming services, the companies are, well, we can do this ourselves. And we would rather get all of the money.
So do you think they're
if
backing out of Hulu?
Possible.
Don't know.
I think that's a more complicated legal story. I think things may disappear from Hulu over time. Hulu as an entity, I don't think is going to disappear.
Got it.
It'll probably just be more of a Showtime or a Stars like premium bundle for the shows they make. So NBC, first of all, NBC Universal Service will be called Peacock.
Okay.
What do you think of the name?
Solid.
Yeah? Yeah, you get to turn on the Peacock.
I mean, it takes me back.
Peacocking.
It takes me back to Must See TV. You know, I always liked their logo.
Bum bum bum. You know,
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
they got the chime. Right?
Yep.
So along with let's start there. Along with the NBC Universal Peacock announcement, they talk about 2 shows they're specifically thinking of rebooting. The first one, Saved by the Bell. Any love for Saved by the Bell?
Negative.
What? You did not grow up with Saved by the Bell?
No, when I say negative, I mean negative love.
Oh,
I
you really did.
I really
not
don't like it. I never. I was too old for it, and it was just one of those shows like Married with Children that I just never understood the appeal.
That's a good. Okay. Sure. Same with you.
I did watch it, did not care for it
Oh, all right.
either.
Well,
And I care less for it now.
This is a soft reboot, so this is not recasting. This is much like
we're gonna
they
catch
did-
it. We're gonna catch up with AC and the gang.
That's right. It's more like Boy Meets World when they did Girl Meets World, and it was what happened when the original cast have now grown up and become parents. Now it is going to center on AC Slater, who is now married Jesse, and they have a kid who is going back to school. Oh, Jeremy is not having any of
I
this.
just can't wait for the next one.
I mean,
But here's the big.
we had a series follow up to Saved by the Bell where they went to college.
They did, and Screech was the only one who came back.
A TV show?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yes, Belding
like-
was the only. Belding was like one of the main cast members, right? It was the new class or
Yeah,
something.
I think Zach was also in it. He was like the TA or something. This sounds horrible.
So here's the big plot point that they're also kicking this off with. Zach Morris is going to be a guest star on this show because the character of Zach Morris, Mark Paul Gosselaar, is the governor of California.
Oh my
No love for Saved by the Bell. Okay, let's move on. Okay. Also in the NBC Universal catalog, and maybe a little more controversial, reboot of Battlestar Galactica.
Like a second reboot? Because they've already done that.
Yeah, Battlestar Galactica, the 2004
Yeah.
show by Ronald Moore and beloved by genre fans everywhere,
Heavily.
is probably the more canonical BSG now in
At
terms
this
of pop
point, yeah.
culture. Yeah, so it's going to be showrun by the creator of Mr. Robot,
Wow.
Sam Esmail, and it may not be a hard reboot. So after they announced this, obviously the big there's a lot of backlash from fans, and then they came out and said, well, they're not going to erase the canon of the Ron Moore BSG, but it will tell a story in a different part of that world.
Okay, fine.
So it might be like they did that Caprica spinoff show. I feel like they're gonna, in order to capitalize it, if they're gonna do it, it's gonna be called Battlestar Galactica. I can't imagine, like, didn't that show end with thousands of years later? Like it there's no,
You know what?
there's no more story there.
I did not finish it. I loved the first couple seasons, but then as soon as they were on that
They're on the
planet,
on New Caprica,
and it became a different kind of show, I kind of lost interest.
It dipped and came back.
Yeah.
Is my experience of it.
Isn't Kara Thrace, who played Starbucks? Isn't she?
that's the name of her character.
Oh, what?
Kara Thrace is.
Oh,
Starbuck.
okay. Well, I just looked her up. Whatever. Isn't she in another show now?
She was on a Netflix show that did not do well. Another World. I
Yeah,
wanna say it didn't do well.
but it was sci-fi,
Yeah,
right?
sci-fi.
Okay, so that
And
she's
done a
not.
bunch of sci-fi.
She's not doing
shows.
that anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the last bit of NBC Universal reboot. There's like 5 more reboots we're gonna talk about after this. The Office reboot. Now this is less confirmed, and it's more a quote from the one of the executives over at NBC Universal that says the goal is, but if after they kicked off the service in 2020, by 2021 they want to be developing a reboot of The Office. Now,
My
it's
answer is
a
on the
spin-off?
television.
Yeah, no.
It's like the remix culture, isn't it? It's like
Everything's a remix.
It's-
It's that
yeah.
video.
yeah.
Everything's inspired by everything else.
I'll tell you the reboot of The Office I would be into. You remember the SNL skit where Steve Carell did a Japanese version of The Office?
No.
That was funny.
No, that sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds like it didn't age well.
Oh, well, probably not. But, or the Lord of the Rings take on The Office that they did as an SNL skit.
Really mash it
I
up.
could get behind that.
The Office in the BSG world.
Why are we doing
No,
that?
but let me just ask the question: why so many of these? Like, why is it because people
There's
are out of ideas, or is
brand
it because
recognition.
people would rather watch a reboot of something they know than a new IP?
Well, even if they did new IP, a lot of people will say, I'll give you an example, the How I Met Your Mother. Where How I Met Your Mother was hugely successful, but for that generation who loved it, it was kind of like very similar to Friends. It was just Friends a decade later, right? So ideas aren't new. Everything
Interesting.
is a remix.
Yep.
So these executives may be thinking, well, we like this formula. We like this kind of office workplace, style of comedy. We could do something that's inspired on it and call it a new thing, or they can capitalize on this brand that they own and just call it The Office.
Are they going to call it The Office : work from home?
Yeah,
What is
teleconference?
what is the
Telepresence office?
new take on this? The Office co-working space.
It's hard for me not to be cynical and just think that they are taking the low road here and doing the easy thing. Because The Office
I don't
is
think they're
one of my
as
favorite
easy.
shows of
Yeah.
all times.
Yeah.
And it
It's actually-
wouldn't have existed if it were like a reboot of something else.
And
Although I realize there's the British Office.
It is the reboot of right. It is literally a scene for scene redo of the British Office for
Yeah.
the first season. So I don't think it's an easy thing. I think it's actually a very hard thing to reboot something of that stature with that kind of with the expectations and the pressure. That's I don't think that's easy at all. Is it the most original thing? No.
I think the cynical take is that if you actually go back in time to when it was on air, these shows actually didn't do that well
They all
compared
did,
to
yeah.
like CSI and other like procedurals in terms of the ratings. It's all been about how well they've done on streaming.
Really?
And DVD
And DVD.
syndication.
There had to have been a slow increase in popularity. I mean, certainly
No,
Seinfeld at the
there's
time.
like rumors like somewhere mid in the run of The Office that it was going to get canceled because it wasn't keeping up with ratings.
when it was good?
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. I mean, eventually those shows became cultural
Yeah.
touchstones, and by the time you got to the last season, everyone's watching, just like with Cheers, just like with Friends.
Yeah.
Everyone wanted to see how it all end. So those are the NBC Universal shows that they're rebooting. How about some movies?
Mhm.
You got the Mortal Kombat movie. That's a well-known reboot. James Wan, director of the Insidious franchise. I want to say I'm not a big horror guy, but he did also Fast and Furious 7, as well as Aquaman. He is directing the Mortal Kombat movie. They've announced they're casting for Sub-Zero and also for Scorpion, as well as now for Sonya Blade and Kano. So you have a lot, and Raiden. Oh my God, they've announced a ton of characters.
The thing is, the games have gotten so gory and photorealistic. How do you make a movie that's not NC-17 and actually,
It doesn't need to be gory to be entertaining.
I completely
I-
agree with
I-
you.
I
but,
think
it's
as
Mortal
long as you have-
Kombat, Norm.
You can have good action. You can have it's a horror director. If you have great choreographed action, very stylized,
Mhm.
like it's a fantasy world. Like Mortal Kombat's a fantasy story, and one of the reasons that the Paul W.S. Anderson Mortal Kombat movie from the late '90s is a cult classic is because it's so campy. Embrace the camp. Like you have Goro, a character with 4 arms. You have you have a lightning god, and you have palette swap ninjas, right? Like, how can that not be campy? Don't take it seriously.
That sounds like a better movie than I'm imagining. That's good. I hope they go that route.
I hope so too. Yeah. I mean, did you see Aquaman?
Nope.
Aquaman. I think
Aquaman
Aquaman
was fine.
I think if they embrace the spectacle that James Wan brought to Aquaman and some of the visual flourish he did, I think that fans are going to eat this movie up. And not only have the latest Mortal Kombat games been, extra gory and heavy on the action, but people have actually really liked the storyline from the last Mortal Kombat games. And so there's a lot of character depth there.
Today I learned there's a storyline.
Yeah, that's a whole story mode.
No idea.
There's time travel.
Yeah, they were ripping those spines out to get to like a secret thumb drive in there.
Okay, how about another video game reboot? Did you either of you watch the Assassin's Creed movie with Michael Fassbender?
Oh, I'm starting to feel like I've never seen a
No.
movie. Nope, never saw that one.
I did-
Wasn't
I skipped
particularly
that
very
one.
good. It was a high budget movie, lofty expectations, but now, and I believe that was through Fox. But now, because Disney owns Fox, Disney is considering, at least the rumor is considering rebooting Assassin's Creed.
I could
Maybe as a
see-
Disney Plus.
I always thought there was enough story there, even though the story is real weird in the game.
Yeah.
That you could make a movie out of it.
Yep, I'm with you.
Oh, it's heavy sci-fi.
Yeah.
That was a big twist of the first game. It ended up not being a historical action game, or it ended up being the sci-fi story about going into your DNA, your lineage, and the legacy of your ancestors. And the movie that Michael Fassbender did kind of embraced that a little bit, except got really convoluted by the end. And so I think there's opportunity there.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. And then how about in other movies? Maybe this is more your generation, more your era. Face Off. John Woo's Face Off.
This is Travolta and Nick Cage, right?
And Nick Cage.
Never seen it.
Ooh. Have you watched a movie
It's
before?
funny,
You know,
'cause
we
we
are
are-
nothing on weekends.
We are
Jeremy.
not talking about classic movies right now. Let's be fair to
Cult
Jeremy.
classics.
It's funny that this comes up because Danica, who I just played badminton with, is
Yeah.
a huge Nick Cage fan, at least of a couple movies.
Yeah, we just watched Snake Eyes.
And this came up, the fact that I hadn't seen it, and I guess I got to see it. It's got a huge following on the internets.
It's a garbage movie.
I
let's
think
be
you're
clear.
going to be.
It's not a good movie.
All right. Yeah. Like,
Like, if you want to see a really interesting, well-made Nick Cage movie,
Yeah.
Bad Lieutenant is really good.
Okay.
That's a Herzog film, I believe. And then Snake Eyes is fantastic. That's a De Palma film. The opening of Snake Eyes.
that's the
first-
one where you kind of don't know what's happening.
It's
right?
it's
Yeah.
Rashomon a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
And it's a murder mystery inside Atlantic City Casino on fight night. And the opening of the film is like a 10-minute tracking shot.
I like those. Like
It's really
the
well
opening
made.
to Boogie Nights.
Yeah.
Raising Arizona.
Yeah. Stick with Raising Arizona.
Yeah,
That's what I was
just
going to
saying.
say. Or National Treasure, which underrated.
I was going to say
great
Third
movie.
Man.
There's a couple of those.
Yeah. Book of Secrets, also good.
Okay.
By good, I mean like I'll stop and
All right.
watch
So
it.
so they're redoing Face Off.
Yeah. Do you know the premise of this film?
Two dudes, they switch faces.
that
that
there
it?
you go. That's it.
Nailed
That's it. It's Nick Cage, John Travolta, in their peak, like of their A-list celebrity. Right. This is what 97. This is right after The Rock. Right. Yeah. Con Air. Nick Cage on a high. He's on an action movie high. John Travolta's up there as well. Right. Had he just done was a Broken Arrow, and you have the big personalities, and John Woo said, "Let's make a movie where to flex your acting chops. You act as you, and you act as you. John Travolta, you will be Nick Cage, and Nick Cage, you will be John Travolta. And let's see if we can convince the audience that you've traded bodies or swap faces.
So you've got the actors pretending to be the other actor.
yes,
Okay.
by literally peeling their face off. Do you not know the premise?
I already told you that I knew the premise.
Okay.
I told you they switch faces
Do you know why they switch faces?
so that they can portray one another.
Presumably, yes. Yeah.
What am I missing?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess I still got to see it though.
I forget who's the villain. It's like it's so convoluted.
Oh,
I
no,
forget.
one of them is not a bad guy.
No. The one of them is the bad
Okay,
guy.
okay.
So I think it's that John Travolta
Yeah,
is the villain.
but he's
He's-
actually
he-
being played by Nick Cage.
Well, no, he's the villain. Nick Cage is the cop, right? I might have
But when
this
you say
completely
Nick
wrong.
Cage, do you mean John Travolta?
No, so they capture this big villain, this like big drug lord.
Yeah.
And in order to infiltrate the underworld.
Don't ruin it though.
No, this is just the premise.
All right.
The cop offers to take the face of the villain, just the face, and literally just cut around the face,
Yeah.
and puts on his face to infiltrate the underworld. Now, while that's happening, the villain wakes up in the hospital, and it's like, "Where's my face?" And it's this grotesque, like prosthetic. His face has come off.
Oh my gosh. Just
But-
like Hannibal Lecter.
Exactly. But it turns out the face of the hero is left at the hospital, like on ice, to be prepared for the reverse transfer.
Okay.
And so, oh, well, he took my face.
Yeah.
I guess I'll take his face and steal his life.
Okay.
And there's your premise.
All right. Thanks.
And then doves fly out. There's a lot of shooting, and it's terrible. I don't know who. Like, if you guys haven't seen this, I want to see who you would recast. Like, are there two actors you can think of in modern day who are big personalities who you think it might be fun to see their faces swapped?
The Rock and Kevin Hart. Yes, there we go. That's my answer to any of those buddy movies.
Didn't they do like 2 movies together?
Yes.
Yeah. What about like I was thinking like Chris Hemsworth and
Chris's. Let's just do the
Chris's.
Chris's.
I know, right? All the Chris's. Chris Hemsworth and Chris Pine. There you go. And Chris Pratt. What a twist! Three-way face off.
The twist is that Chris Evans also shows up.
Oh my god! By the end, and then James Marsden's like, "What am I doing? I need to get in on this." Yeah, face off.
All right.
Considering being rebooted. Okay, we'll jump to the next one's quickly. There's Tank Girl, and this one's further along because the rights have been bought up by Margot Robbie's production company, so she might be starring in Tank Girl. Margot Robbie played Harley Quinn in Suicide Squad.
I like the Lori Petty movie.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people do.
Classic.
Yeah. So I don't know if this one needs to be rebooted, but if they were going to do it, I don't think they could have found a better person to redo it with Margot Robbie. Yeah. I mean, based on her portrayal of Harley Quinn in Suicide Squad and the upcoming Birds of Prey movie. And then finally, this one's the big controversy. The rights have been sold so that they may be rebooting The Princess Bride.
This is a horrible idea.
All the cast members have come out to say no.
Oh, good.
It's a perfect film. You don't need to do this.
Didn't
like Andre the Giant rose from the grave and was like, "This is a terrible idea."
Didn't Rob Reiner direct that?
Rob Reiner did direct.
What does he say about this?
I mean, maybe. What if they bring him back? What if that's their hook?
Well, then I suppose that the actors probably wouldn't be so opposed to it. But I don't think he'd do it. Smart guy.
Yeah, it's because it's a perfect film.
What if it's Princess Bride 2, Bridezilla? Or really go camp. Like it's the second book in the series.
Who would you cast as? And there have been a lot of fan castings if they did a reboot of Princess Bride. Like Andre the Giant's role would be probably the toughest to cast, right? You want someone physically imposing like the Mountain from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Right? Would he be? But he have the personality because it wasn't so much that he was a big dude.
It was goofy.
He was super goofy. He was so lovable.
You cannot manufacture the Princess Bride. There was so much confluence of luck and good casting that just ended up being magical.
I think you just get another Chris. Get a Chris Hemsworth to play Wesley. Play the Dread Pirates.
That's
Roberts.
the problem is that almost nobody. I mean, there were a couple people who were known, but like Andre the Giant was not a film star.
That's true.
No one would have thought to bring him into a film, and he ended up being fantastic.
Yeah. So maybe an unknown for Andre the Giant's role. Dave Bautista could do it.
Yeah,
I think he has the charm to do it.
But then you're going with a known quantity.
There's one person I would bring back.
Yeah.
Wallace Shawn.
Yeah.
Wallace Shawn would just play himself.
Yeah. Just be Wallace Shawn.
Yes. In Frankie makeup.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Greg Negus. Yes.
Well,
I like how we all agreed on that immediately. It was just not a question.
The Six-Fingered Man is Chris, from
Christopher Guest.
Christopher Guest from Spinal Tap and all that.
Yeah, but who would you have?
He could do it again.
You probably do.
Yeah, bring him back.
Yeah. Okay.
He's got part of the magic.
What about for Montoya? Who would you play?
Instead of Mandy Patinkin?
Oscar Isaac.
Who's that?
Poe Dameron.
Yeah.
Poe Dameron from Star Wars. He could do it.
The thing is,
you're just trying to manufacture.
Got to be randoms.
That's right. It has to be completely different. Who would play the Fred Savage character?
Well, Fred Savage is going to be the dad reading to
there
the
you go.
young
Then it's
kid.
Then it's a game of telephone.
That's kind of cute,
right?
That's
then it's like
cute.
he was told the story when he was a kid in bed,
He
and
could
now
get
he's
some things wrong.
sick. Right?
Yeah.
I feel ill for throwing that idea.
Oh my! You've solved it. You've solved. This is
horrible.
This is
I apologize.
a Hollywood writer's room that you're listening to in the making. We're all high fives around. Fred Savage retelling the story. He's lost the book. Maybe he's reading an ebook, and then the power goes out on it, and he has to kind of bring it from memory. And he's getting some stuff right, and they could use old footage. They could reshoot some scenes because he gets some stuff right and get some stuff wrong, and it's all about the power of storytelling.
Norm's now just high-fiving himself.
Yeah, I mean, it happens all the time.
Pop culture, news,
let's be clear. I do not advocate the remaking of The Princess Bride, regardless of how much I like that idea.
Just to have that on the record.
Yes, let's have that on the record. Okay, pop culture news. It's not too many stories. It's a few stories. You got, of course, streaming services. We talked about Peacock. No word on pricing. It's going to have that back catalog library of all the NBC Universal stuff, so people might really want to get it for that. It's unsustainable at this point, right? Like every network can't do their own $7, $10 a month streaming service. And all these startups.
So I'm going to come out with a weird take. I'm actually excited that they're launching this because I think it'll accelerate the combining of the networks. Because I think we have to get through this phase where everyone's like, I could do that, and get to the point where they're like, oh, that's too expensive, and there's no market for me to do it. So there's some bit of consolidation that happens. I mean, we get down to the right number of them.
Is this a bad thing? I mean, isn't the whole idea of breaking up the phone companies so that we could choose our provider? Don't we want to have choice of what networks we subscribe to? We don't want 1,000 channels in the cable. We want to choose the ones we want to pay for.
But it also breaks up the content in not a true a la carte fashion.
Right. It's all ESPNs. They want you to buy it's Comcast bundles all over again.
Yeah.
But everyone has their own flagship
bundle
thing.
Because you're not paying per show.
Yeah.
You're paying per set of
And yes, there
stuff.
are new shows. But I think what it ends up being is that they need to make it easier for people to subscribe and unsubscribe. And the business model, they're all banking on people subscribing and just having it be a sunk cost every month of $50 or $100 or whatever. And they need to make it easier, or there's an opportunity for a company to make it easier for you to subscribe for 1 month and then fall off the next month. Now, do you ever see a world where you'd be able to subscribe for a month but only get a certain number of hours from a service?
Ugh, that feels like a data cap.
It does.
Yuck.
Yeah.
A certain number of hours. Yeah, then you'd be worried.
Or a certain number of shows.
You'd be worried to watch things because it would be like something you're spending.
Yeah, I mean, people, if you're subscribed to 5 or 6 streaming services, you're not watching everything. There's no way you're watching all the stuff that's coming out. And the way you optimize it is you kind of turn on and off your subscriptions when the new shows come out.
I mean, not everyone has unlimited internet, so there is that. Like, people do have to consider spending that currency.
That's what public libraries are for.
Watching TV?
Yes, using the Wi-Fi. Well, it's going to be, and not only is it new shows, but it's going to be a battle for archival content, the back catalog content as well, and that's not cheap because Netflix just spent a ton of money locking in Seinfeld for 5 years.
And it just feels like we lost Friends. Let's get the something else. But my suspicion is Seinfeld doesn't do as well on streaming as Friends or The Office or Parks and Rec. I don't think it's as rewatchable.
I think people are,
even though it's a better show than those other ones.
And maybe it's more watchable. Like Seinfeld feels like a show that is better suited for cable when you're channel flipping and you end up on a Seinfeld when the options are less limited. At any time, if you have a YouTube TV, if you have a Comcast, you're only kind of going between like 30 or so channels, and Seinfeld's going to be on one of them. There's going to be House Hunters on another channel, and South Park's on another channel, and that feels landing on Seinfeld to just throw on as opposed to searching for it and in a service. That feels like the more appropriate place. But they're spending up rumored of $500 million for Seinfeld for X many years. The big technology story here, though, is Seinfeld was filmed in 35 millimeter, right? And it was cropped 4:3 it was shown 4:3 in the original broadcast, and all the details there. You can scan Seinfeld. I believe is archived and scanned at 4K. Now, when it's presented on before Netflix has it, it's on Hulu, right? And Hulu has it in 16:9 widescreen, which is what you see it also when you watch it on cable.
Which
TV.
is expanded or cropped from the original.
So it's it's both. It's not only is a 16:9 crop top and bottom, but because it was shot 3:2, 35 mil, you get a little more on the sides than you did on the 4:3. So the true ideal way to watch Seinfeld would be a 3:2 aspect ratio, not fully widescreen, but slightly wider than the 4:3, and it's never been shown that way.
Yeah, I don't think people would be comfortable with that.
Yeah. Netflix says that also when it's going to roll out Seinfeld, they're going to have to launch a new browsing menu service for that show because there's so many episodes and you don't scroll through like the seasons like you would because the content like you would as traditional Netflix show. Like people don't find Seinfeld episodes that way. They want to kind of just watch. They're all evergreen. You kind of want to watch a random one. So maybe like a random Seinfeld or a different way to present the Seinfeld episodes in playlists or they want people not just kind of watching through in order. They want people just to happen onto a Seinfeld episode, which I feel again like is the right way to do it. Also, Disney Plus gets a new show added to their back catalog, at least when it's going to launch in November 12th. They have the rights to this already, but they announced that they're going to have X-Men animated series and the Fox Spider-Man. These are both Fox cartoons, the Saturday morning cartoons, Spider-Man and X-Men. No word on Iron Man and Fantastic Four, which were both also Fox animated shows.
That Iron Man is pretty forgettable. And that Fantastic Four.
Oh, no, they will include. I'm sorry. It will include
Yeah.
Iron Man and Fantastic
I've turned
Four
around.
and Silver Surfer and Incredible Hulk
Ooh, that
and
Silver-
Spider-Man and Amazing Friends. Oh, this is
Silver
good.
Surfer one is bad
Wait,
as
no,
a big Silver Surfer.
These are
fan.
all cartoons?
These are cartoons. These are the ones I
Yeah.
grew up with in the early 90s.
How do
The
you
X-Men one has the best theme song.
you watched these?
Yeah.
It's Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Reed Richards is elastic.
Yeah, this was
Sue
bad.
can blend or can hide from sight. Johnny's the Human Torch. The Thing just loves to fight. Call on the Four. Do. Fantastic Four. That's all I got.
That's pretty good.
The Spider-Man show was underrated too. I thought it was very good.
Spider-Man
It,
was
did
really, really good.
Secret Wars and all
They did
sorts of crazy
multiverse
stuff.
Yeah, there's a great finale where Spider-Man enters our world and meets Stan Lee, voiced by Stan Lee,
I believe it.
and tells him, I'm your creator. I thank you for creating me, and then web slings with him.
And all these are all Marvel.
Well, these are all Marvel that were licensed to Fox, and when Fox did these animated shows, just like Fox did Batman animated series, but now they're back in the Disney family
Gotcha.
because of the acquisition,
Yeah.
and so they will be part of Disney Plus, along with classics like DuckTales, Darkwing Duck, Tailspin, your Disney afternoon shows, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers, and most importantly, Gargoyles.
Oh, Gargoyles is very good. Very good.
Yeah, Keith David has talked about wanting
Jonathan
to bring
Frakes
back.
and Marina
Oh, it was
Sirtis.
basically all of the Star Trek
Michael
Next Generation
Dorn.
cast
Really?
doing voices. Yeah,
That's so weird.
yeah.
Huh.
This is just making Disney Plus sound better.
Well,
They're really coming in heavy with the content.
they're not getting that Batman show though, right?
No.
The one with Mark
Batman
Hamill.
the animated
Yeah, the
series.
animated series with Mark Hamill as the Joker.
Are they not?
I don't think
That's
that.
owned by. Oh no, that would
It's
be
Warner
Warner
Brothers.
Brothers. That would be Warner Brothers Animation. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay. Do you see this trailer for the Paul Rudd movie on Netflix?
I'm really excited about this. It's called Living with Yourself. I'm not going to spoil much. Like the trailer's dropped. It's about a kind of down on your luck Paul Rudd type who ends up cloning himself, so he'll have a second person to deal with the crappy parts of his life.
That's not the plot at all. It looks like from the trailer he goes to
I'm
this.
sure that's how it's going to end up.
No, it's not exactly multiplicity. It's more prestige.
These are the top results.
Oh,
Is that me?
Yeah, that's you.
No.
That's you. That's you.
What's
That's
talking about the
one
top
of you.
results? I didn't.
I don't know. Look,
Wasn't me.
where's your phone?
That wasn't
So
me.
the trailer plays out as Paul Rudd's unhappy with his life, and he goes to some clinic to transform himself to be happier. And he wakes up happier, and he goes home, and it turns out that Paul Rudd that went home that's happier is a new Paul Rudd, and the old Paul Rudd who was unhappy, they just threw in a ditch, but he climbed out Kill Bill style. Kill Bill
Yeah.
Volume 2 style.
I feel like that's
That's
More of a
different. He didn't
multiplicity
intention. So it's different because multiplicity. Michael Keaton clones himself to help
fine.
do more tasks and to help spread his busy life, and then it gets confusing. It's more prestige in that the clone is supposed to replace the original, but in this case, the original doesn't die, and the original wants to live. So also like The Sixth Day, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie.
I am sure that a third Paul Rudd is going to show up somewhere in this show.
You think so?
I'm sure of it.
They have the technology.
We have to bet
press that
something.
clone Paul Rudd.
Bet something just not trivial about this. There will be a third Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
So
Still into it.
why do you watch this movie? Do you watch it for the special effects?
You watch for Paul Rudd acting against Paul Rudd.
Yeah. I mean, that's, I guess you're probably right. But of course, he's not acting against Paul Rudd. He's acting against, nobody or a stand-in. And so that's interesting. But, you used to watch these movies to see how they actually get them on the same screen together. That was movie magic. I think people kind of take that for granted now. But
Yeah.
I still
Thank
watch
you,
it.
Social Network.
I kind of watch it for that, too.
There are plenty of movies where people don't realize a lot of the actors are portrayed by the same actors, and it is an acting challenge. I think actors really love that. And if it's a good script, then yeah. We watched a short film earlier, right before recording the podcast. It's called Jurassic World: Battle at Big Rock. This is an 8-minute short film directed by Colin Trevorrow, who directed the first Jurassic World and is coming back to direct the third one. And after being released from his obligation to direct episode 9, thank you, J.J. Abrams, for coming in there. So Jurassic World the third is still in production. I think it's coming out in 2021. That's 2 years from now, June 2021. But while they're in production, they decide to film this kind of stopgap story.
So it's not a trailer or a teaser. This
No.
is a totally separate little side story.
Yes, and the timing is kind of curious because they're not making any kind of announcement with this, not a casting announcement. We don't assume that any of these characters are in this short film. It's a very self-contained small story.
So
Are gonna
anything
make
could
it.
happen to these characters when you watch
Yes.
it.
Yeah. And if you saw Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, the end of that film really laid out the groundwork for what this new trilogy is supposed to be about, why they call it Jurassic World. It's not because there's no park. It's about dinosaurs inhabiting our world. Didn't they do that in The Lost World, Jurassic Park, Spielberg? Yeah, it's the same idea. But now it's remixed again. So this short story, it's all right. Yeah, there's good dinosaur effects.
It was expensive.
It looked
That's
it
my
looked really
review.
polished. Yeah, didn't look like a fan film. Look good. Jeremy was having none of it.
I didn't buy it. I didn't believe a minute of it.
Yeah, I think a lot of it lacked the Spielberg face.
Yes, exactly. Yes, like Spielberg shoots children from the right angle and makes them look
Spielberg shoots children.
and with a camera. And he makes them look in the right direction, puts them on the right light, and gets them through whatever conversation he has beforehand to give the right expression.
Some directorial alchemy.
Yes, exactly.
He says it's directing, right? And the awe and wonder, that you get from Laura Dern, head turning to look at the brachiosauruses in Jurassic World. You want that awe or terror. You want that type of visceral reaction.
Before even the audience sees a dinosaur,
Yes.
it's all about watching the actors see the dinosaur.
Yes.
And that is more important because
And-
that creates your emotion.
And you felt like that was lacking.
I
in
did.
The short film.
I certainly did.
You sure did.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it's free to watch on YouTube. And again, interesting timing. It couldn't have been cheap to make this. It's just a reminder, hey, we're still making a Jurassic World film. Come back in 2 years and
Oh my
then
God.
give us your money.
Do you know what Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom made at the box office?
$1.35 billion
Yes.
globally.
And with a 48% Rotten Tomato.
People love dinosaurs.
Wow.
People love dinosaurs.
Jeez.
Yeah, people are wrong sometimes. That's okay.
Oh, I love dinosaurs.
They still don't address like the main problem with the movie is like how are dinosaurs existing in a 21% oxygen environment when they clearly existed during a time when there was about 25% oxygen load.
Yeah.
Answer me that.
You're
Chris
saying they would
Pratt.
all suffocate. They'd all just get like asthma. All the dinosaurs would have asthma.
Life finds a way.
Simpsons got it right when
I'm-
Homer sneezed on that dinosaur and it died.
I'm going to apologetics this one. I'm going to say that the dinosaurs, when they were combining DNA and they were using the DNA of lizards and frogs, that was more adapted for, they imbued them with the lung capacity and the metabolism of modern animals.
I mean, now we're just talking crazy.
I mean, you're also talking about gene splicing dinosaurs. Who would do that?
And
How
building
would that be?
robots that literally pick up an egg
and
and
turn?
turn it over
Oh,
and put it
yeah.
back down. Yeah.
Yeah, are these audio erotic?
Hey, that's how you get the match in the pinball machine. There's an excellent Jurassic Park pinball machine out now. If you haven't found that at your local pinball arcade, you got to play it. It's excellent. It's excellent.
It's new.
It's the newest Stern game that there is on the market. in the game, dinosaurs walk across. Well, I say that you have to imagine it, but there are lights on the game on the playfield that represent dinosaurs, and they walk around the playfield, and you have to
avoid them.
You don't avoid them. You have to rescue the staff that they're headed for.
Oh,
and you rescue the staff, and suddenly, like, they're headed to a different place because there's a staff member in a different direction that's close by.
So really is in your mind, though.
It is very imaginative.
Okay.
It's a blast.
But as a mechanic, as a design decision, it's innovative. It gives you a lot to do.
It does. It does. There's a Jeep. You have to steer the Jeep. Yeah, like on the playfield, you hit a ball, it steers the Jeep left or right. That affects so many things about the game. It's a fantastic game. Go find it. Put $1 in it.
Okay. A little bit more movie news. James Gunn announced the full cast for The Suicide Squad, sequel reboot to Suicide Squad. A lot of returning cast members. Viola Davis, you got Margot Robbie, Jared Leto's not coming back as the Joker, but you have Jai Courtney playing Captain Boomerang coming back, and you have a lot of interesting names. You got Pete Davidson, of SNL fame.
Oh, Nathan Fillion.
Yeah,
Nathan Fillion.
How about that?
What, in a Suicide Squad movie?
Flula Borg from YouTube.
Yeah, Taika Waititi, not as a director, the actor. Idris Elba.
Michael Rooker.
Michael Rooker makes sense, of course. He's James Gunn's boy. And also Peter Capaldi.
Sure.
The Doctor.
Doctor Who's got to show up at some point.
This looks like some fan casting. Joel Kinnaman's back, of course.
Also, there's so many names on here. What are these people playing?
I don't know. James Gunn did have, I think the last, maybe it's not an image here, but like one of the taglines, don't get too attached. So presumably a lot of these are cameo appearances. And they get killed
guards that
quickly.
get killed.
Yeah. Or just they're characters with names and faces and powers, and maybe they get killed.
There are some really good suicide stories in the comics and in some of the animated movies. So I'm just hopeful they focus on that and not try to do too much except make it the Suicide Squad. Be done with it.
We got two more stories in pop culture. One, Billy Mitchell's back.
Oh God,
This is great.
Is it?
Yes.
Is it though?
Let me tell you why. Because there are so many things wrong with the world today, and there's so many important things that people are getting wrong in the world today. Do you know what's not important?
Donkey Kong?
Donkey Kong and the high score, record of some dude. And the fact that he is so invested in this
So give us some background. What happened?
makes me for a moment forget about all these other things that are wrong in the world and focus on this as if it's important. And I just love this escape. This is the best escapism for arcade nerds. Everyone knows this story because there was a documentary made, 20 years ago, The King of Kong,
15 years ago.
about Steve Wiebe and Billy Mitchell, the two rival Donkey Kong players. And one's better than the other's better than the other, and it's a wonderful documentary. You got to see it. It turns out one of the stars of this documentary was accused of cheating, like last year, and pretty well backed up proof that he cheated. That he used an emulator to play through the game, and then he provided the footage of him finishing Donkey Kong in record time to Twin Galaxies, this famous arcade that houses all of the records of the top times. And all of his scores were struck from the record.
Wow.
The Guinness Book of World Records.
Because Guinness Book of World Records pulls their records from Twin Galaxies.
They took it off the record too. So now Billy, from that moment, he said that he was innocent. He pled not guilty. And now he's back, and he's now compiled the evidence to prove his case. And he is threatening to sue the Guinness and Twin Galaxies if they don't reinstate his records. And he's provided them 156 pages of document proof, supposedly proving his innocence.
So if you're wondering why I haven't been saying that much during the podcast so far, it's because I've been reading some of these 156 pages.
Yeah, it's all available online, PDF.
It is, I think the word I would use is hilarious, but in the sad way of hilarious. Like so here's what I've learned about Billy Mitchell. He screen grabs everything. And so almost much of the evidence is like Facebook messages and like text between people. And then there are these really bizarre like witness certifications on just like really minute details of stuff.
I mean, he's screaming conspiracy, or he's saying that the people who currently run Twin Galaxies, the officiators there, they had a vendetta against him and only looked at certain evidence and did not look at other evidence. But at the base of it all, the footage is out there. You can see that it's emulated and not original hardware.
There's parts of the story that I can't believe. So that one of his high scores is like 1,050,200.
Yeah.
And the claim is he did that at a mortgage brokers convention in Orlando. And so there's people that were at the convention that have sent in witness statements being like, I was at the mortgage brokers convention in Orlando. Like, and you just have to like stop for a second and say like, somebody put a Donkey Kong cabinet in the middle of a mortgage convention and tried to set a high score.
Mm-hmm. And now he's saying that all the tape showings were all done as recreations. Were all they were used MAME because they were done for the purposes for entertainment purposes for the documentary, for example.
Oh, so he does acknowledge that it was emulated
begrudgingly, but he said that those were never the official submissions. What you saw on King of Kong was done as a reenactment by him, of course.
Wow.
And that all the official scores were done, like Shore said, at these live events, of which there is no footage.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I wish him the best. I hope he proves his innocence and he's right. That would be wonderful. You know, Steve Wiebe is a teacher to this day.
Yes.
And people from like his students have no idea who he is.
No, they do. They post it on Reddit one time.
Occasionally, one figures it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But he's left this life behind.
Yes.
Like if anything, the legacy of the documentary King of Kong, Fistful of Dollars, is that it spawned the whole generation of people seeking to perfect Kong.
And now neither of these two guys are anywhere near the top score.
Exactly. People have played perfect games and
beaten their scores.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, but for our entertainment purposes,
that's wonderful.
This drama continues.
Billy started out as a pinball wizard, because that certainly there weren't the video games to play in the mid-late 70s that there were in the early 80s, and he was excellent. He was an excellent pinball player, and then he became an arcade gamer and expert because I guess that's where the attention was.
It's undeniable that, and then anyone who follows his career, that he's talented. He's gifted arcade player and pinball player.
Yep.
But it's kind of all been soured by some of the personality aspects.
And he was portrayed as the villain in The King of Kong.
Yes.
Let's be honest about that.
Yes.
And to great effect. Like I've met the guy in person, in fact.
You have?
Yeah, he was at one of the first he was at the first Replay Effects / that I went to. And he was hawking his hot sauce. And
putting in the front of the
Donkey Kong.
Front of the supermarket.
Yeah.
In front of the counter.
Yeah.
What was that other documentary we watched about that?
Nibbles?
Nibble,
Yeah. What was I forget the name of it, but
about Snake?
No, it was called
Nibbler.
Yeah. Nibbler documentary, and what was the name of it? Man vs. Snake.
Man vs. Snake.
Man vs. Snake. And Billy Mitchell does multi-day play big parts, and that one's
good too.
Highly recommended.
Yeah.
Really love that Man vs. Snake documentary.
Billy Mitchell's like the Dr. Dre in that one. He's like orchestrating things.
Yeah. Oh boy. Last bit of pop culture news: Lego Ideas, big blog post updating their new kind of submission format and rules and some guidelines now. So Lego Ideas, of course, is the platform run by Lego. It's an official thing where people can submit their own creations, either designs or just ideas, or even a render of something, and then users can vote on them, and some of those get evaluated once they meet a certain benchmark and milestone. They get evaluated to turn into real kits, and many real kits have come out of Lego Ideas. Well, it's kind of like the market is flooded there. There's so many things that people are voting on, and Lego Ideas needs to kind of tighten the things up a little bit.
Can't they just require more votes?
I think it's more that they want to provide guidelines for what even can be submitted.
Right, because there's so many things that are just, commonplace IP that people recognize that gets upvoted, but then Lego can't do anything because they don't have the actual license to do.
What's an example of that?
Like stuff like there's been Monopoly submissions and like stuff that's related to stuff where they already have licenses, like Star Wars stuff.
Exactly.
That's
So-
bad.
No, it's just they have to like. There's a different kind of process and workflow when it involves IP, and so a lot of this is just saying like when
Okay.
you submit your idea, you have to just declare when you submit it like what IP kind of class it sort of falls under.
Okay.
As a way of like streamlining the workflow.
And the big thing is that if they've already evaluated that IP, if they've looked at a thing and said, "Oh, we've made Back to the Future or we've made Ghostbusters," then really it serves no extra purpose for the users to submit them because Lego probably has something. They've thought of these things. They're looking for really unique ideas. They're looking for things that are more generic, and we've seen a bunch of Lego ideas like the tree house, the fisherman dock, like that stuff is what they're kind of
Ship in a bottle.
Yeah,
One
ship
of
in a
my
bottle,
favorites.
just kind of more evergreen themes, less tied to a license, is what they're looking for right now. So they're kind of restructuring their submission process.
It's interesting. One of the things that they don't allow is things that don't fit the Lego brand, and they give two
Game of Thrones.
two examples of that: Game of Thrones and Call of Duty.
Yeah. No guns. There are never any guns,
Yeah.
official guns in Lego.
Just laser guns.
Yes, that's true. Blasters, yes. Guns, no. Go third party for that. Anyway, that does it for our extended pop culture segment this week. And before we continue with this week's podcast, I want to let you know that Still Entitled this week is made possible, or not Still Entitled. This is only a test. We recorded Still Entitled in this room earlier last week. This is only a test this week. It's made possible with support from Thinkful. If you've been thinking about quitting your job and starting a career in tech, you need to check out Thinkful. Thinkful is a tech boot camp that's building the world's next workforce. When you join Thinkful, you're supported by a team all focused on one thing: launching your new career. Whether you want to become a software engineer, product designer, data analyst, or data scientist, Thinkful's team is in it for the long haul because they know you are too. The work doesn't stop after graduation. With Thinkful, you'll have one-on-one mentors, career coaches, and a thriving local network on hand to make sure you get hired within 6 months. If not, Thinkful will pay your tuition back. Talk about a great guarantee. At Thinkful, they're focused on high-growth fields that are building the future of the tech industry. That's why their graduates have joined the ranks of companies like Google, Amazon, IBM, and Boeing. Now it's time to think about quitting your job and starting your career. Visit thinkful.com/onlyatest to start building the future you want. That's Thinkful, THINKFUL.com/onlyatest.
Just to finish a thought on Billy Mitchell, the accused. I wonder. Let's imagine for a minute that he is guilty. Just imagine, hypothetically.
Got it. There.
Think about the mind of a person who is a video game expert. Like, that's a special mind. It's not like
A beautiful mind.
It's not like anybody can do this. Like, I do think that it takes a special kind of insanity to get a perfect game in Pac-Man, or to get the high score, a million points in Donkey Kong. You don't just have to memorize the patterns. You have to have a certain approach to analyzing things, and it's almost like you have to tease things apart you have to dissect things, deconstruct things. And I imagine if he were guilty, he might be able to have used all this time to dissect the evidence and find a way to prove innocence through manufacturing the right story.
You mean know how to work the system?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, if that's what he's
a
been
possibility.
if he's generating a 156-page document, I'm sure he's considered all the ways to poke holes. That's what lawyers do.
It's just it's his skills could be put to use in proving his innocence. Is my point.
Yeah.
Now I could see Oscar Isaac cast as him in the movie.
It is a game that he's playing. It could be. It could be. Seen.
And he's in it for the long haul.
Yeah. Exactly.
Endurance is a big part of it.
Right. Exactly.
If only hand dexterity and hand-eye coordination was going to be a big part of this too. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe energy better spent actually trying to beat his own scores.
Ooh, I like it.
Playing,
Yeah.
right?
Live.
Live.
That's good.
Okay. we're going to talk a little bit about the phone reviews and the tech reviews that came out this week because iPhones had been seeded. iPhones 11 have been seeded to early reviewers, and so I spent some time yesterday reading some of the reviews and seeing how some of the features pan out. Right. So the biggest features, of course, is the big third camera, the wide-angle camera that's on both the iPhone 11 and the iPhone 11 Pro series.
13 millimeter equivalent? Is that what it was?
13 millimeter equivalent. 13, 26, and 52 now.
Crazy wide.
Very interesting. And it looks like that camera is less capable, the smaller sensor. The biggest sensor on the iPhones are the normal wide-angle camera, 26mm one, not the ultra-wide. So that's why they're calling it in the UI. 1X is still 26mm, and they call it 0.5x. It's a weird terminology, right? They don't want to surface the millimeter, the focal length.
Yeah.
They just want to surface the standard, like 1x being standard is 26mm equivalent on that. So the wide angle looks good, though. It's definitely a different type of view. You're going to get a lot closer to subjects. Doesn't have optical image stabilization, but you can do like you saw in the commercial they made with the cars, the wide angle stuff. You can do some pretty good wide angle video as well. The night mode is the other big thing. This is the feature that automatically turns on when this camera sensors, the camera app thinks the scene is really dark, and then it's like a 3-second countdown. So you have some video of the UI now where you press the shutter button and you actually see a little bar go count down 3 seconds. So you're supposed to hold your phone as still as you can. It'll take as much information and it stitches up to 12 images together to get you a good-looking low-light image. Image from low light. And there are a lot of comparisons between that and the Pixel 3.
Yeah, you like that.
And you know what? Yes, you get more visual detail, I think, in the iPhone image. Like there's some great photos of like brick walls. You see more of the brick wall detail in the night mode versus night sight on the Pixel. But night sight, I think, still gets you better exposure. I like when I was looking at some of the comparison images, I'm like, ooh, the Pixel 3, they get this wrong because I like the look of the Pixel 3 one. The light isn't overblown. They night mode on iPhone almost does like night for day, where it's almost like the gamma is too high on a nighttime picture.
This is all software at this point, though. So that you would,
but you can't tune it.
No, but you would say like they could tune it.
They could, but they determine this is what they think people want. And I'm saying from just my eye, I think sometimes a night image, you want people to see people's faces and you want the candlelight or the street light to get as much light from that as possible. But I don't want scenes to look blown out. A classic image is if you look at some of these comparison pictures and they take pictures of buildings at night, you can see like what a skyscraper looks like at night from both these cameras. And there's the skyscraper, and behind it there's the blue of the sky behind it. I think on the iPhone pictures, the blue sky is too bright. It's not necessarily grainy. It's just really it looks almost unnatural to me.
Does the HDR composition look distracting? Because a lot of times with the iPhone HDR photos, you have these halos around objects, and contrast is just wrong.
So that's different because that's HDR, and I'll get to that in a second with some of those comparison images.
But isn't this, you said it's taking 12 photos. I imagine it's the same kind of process of compositing. Like,
it is compositing,
bracketed.
But it's not. I think they want to separate it from HDR because there's some semantic learning that they're doing here. Like that's a face, and they're going to bring out the shadows there. It's not just taking the raw different exposures and combining them. They're doing it technically. They are combining exposures of different exposure lengths, and the technical feature is that all three of these cameras can go up to 1 second exposures now, which is much higher than previously.
Like literally, like you can
1
do a
second.
long exposure of a second, and
it won't be transparent to you, but the sensor will allow for up to a 1 second in the back end.
Gotcha.
And camera apps may be able to tap.
That'd be cool.
Camera app, capital C, capital A, what Apple puts on their phones by default, will not let you say long exposure.
Because up until now, the third-party camera apps doing long exposure, the best you can get are like a bunch of blurry images.
So
I just put up the night sight photos from The Verge of like a skyscraper of the 11 Pro versus the Pixel 3.
And I like the one on the right more. I like the Pixel 3 image more.
Yeah, I see what you mean from the image. You can definitely see more details in the 11 Pro picture.
Scroll up. There's specifically a skyscraper shot where in the windows of the skyscraper on the iPhone image, it looked more blown out. I don't know if it's included in this. And my gut says, yeah, even if that right there, on the right side, you can see inside the buildings. On the left side, you can't see inside the buildings. On the iPhone pictures, the night mode pictures, you can't see. It still looks blown out from the interior lights of these apartments and the skyscrapers. On the right side with the Pixel 3 night sight, it actually tones down the highs, the highlights.
Right.
And you can actually see inside
But
some of these rooms.
On the 11 Pro picture, you can see in the foreground where it's really dark on the bench, you can see more detail on that bench.
So again, I go back to, I think you do get more detail from night mode on the iPhone, but subjectively, I like the Pixel 3 images more.
I mean, to me, I think for the average user, there's not going to be much a difference between these two because you don't have both phones. You're not doing a comparison.
You're watching you're watching the image on the phone that you shot it on.
Yeah, I think this is just really a really big leap forward for iPhone users.
Yeah,
the experience.
The real comparison is to not have the feature, and compared to having it, I think it's fantastic.
So compared to the previous generation.
Yep, compared to my phone.
Yeah. I mean, that's not, I'm going to say a problem with the reviews because it does, from a technology standpoint, make sense to compare between two different companies. But the people buying the iPhones are not the people in the market for the Pixel 3. And obviously timing isn't great because Pixel 4 is going to be announced October 15th. That's another news story for on the Google side. And that's going to have multiple cameras and presumably an updated version of Night Sight. But you're right. It's for people who have the 10S or the 10 or the 7 or the 6S. You know, this new feature is overdue, I think you could say, because Google had it for a year. And so it's good for iPhone users that Apple is putting more thought. Obviously, computational photography is a big thing for them. Something that wasn't advertised and it was rumored and it actually did make it as a feature is if on the iPhones now that has a wide angle camera, if you turn on a setting in the camera app and you take a standard 1x photo, it will also take a photo in the 0.5 the wide ultra wide angle and save that as extra data in the image file. So if you want to rotate the image, you can actually rotate it fully.
Interesting.
Now.
That's
that's awesome. So
you don't have to crop in.
Yes, but the question is, does that extra data get saved when you upload to iCloud? Like portrait data is not saved when you upload to
Probably
iCloud.
not. But it does open up more third-party apps doing something with the raw information that the camera is collecting.
Do you know yet if you can? It seems like their new feature is when you're taking photos, if you hold it down, you take a video without switching to video mode.
You swipe up to do a video.
So you can still do rapid shots?
Yes, if you don't swipe up.
Excellent.
So the video mode is if you hold down and slide it.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, great. I just want to make sure you can still do rapid shots. All right.
Other things that have now been apparent since the announcement, the multiple camera recording that we thought was only a feature because for the new processor is going to make its way over to the 10R and the 10S, last year's cameras, but it's only restricted, like in the new phones, to 2 camera sensors being recorded at once. They said there's a lot of work for them to do this, but this is good for people who have last year's phones. You're going to be able to record the front camera, the back camera. There's a whole matrix chart you can see of what combination of camera sensors you can activate at the same time. I don't know it's gonna be fully useful for a lot of people, but having more data.
You know what would be interesting is if you had some sort of lens attachment that you plopped on the top of your phone that gave both cameras super wide angles and then did 360 capture. Converted, stitched together both of those footages into a single 360 scene.
Oh, you mean the front and the back?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see why that could. That's a Kickstarter idea.
Yeah, it'd be a pretty inexpensive 360 capture.
Right.
If you had the phone, obviously.
But you would then need the software to do 360 off of my phone.
Well, no, you just take those video footages off the phone and stitch them on your PC.
Right. That's not how that's not what iPhone users do. They want everything on the phone.
Yeah, probably right.
Yeah. Other thing, we didn't mention this when we talked about the announcement. They removed 3D Touch. So they removed this feature that was brought in with the 6S, I believe, the Force Touch. You press hard on the screen, you get a little taptic feedback.
I think people weren't using it as much as they thought.
There were 2 big places where people used it.
There were?
One on the lock screen to activate the shortcuts, the flashlight and the quick access to camera.
Yeah, but now they just have those.
No, now you have to just do a long press, and the impressions are that the long press is noticeably more laggy.
See, they're right down there, like by default.
But how do you launch?
yeah.
You have to hard,
Yeah,
you
right.
hard press
I see what you
to
mean.
launch it, and now you have to long press to launch those shortcuts.
And you know what? Because my iPad Mini never had 3D Touch, and it
Yeah.
was already doing long press for a lot of things, I've gotten used to that, and I'm happy that now all devices just have this.
It is a rare feature that Apple touted as a big selling point of a phone, and then they took away because they wanted to use that space for battery.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I figured it was a no one was using it right kind of thing.
No, I mean that was definitely part of it. That it wasn't surfaced. The like people don't know. Most people didn't know that you could hard press on the keyboard and move the cursor. That's one of the other best use case for 3D Touch. And now you can long press on the space bar, which lets you move the cursor. I'm gonna miss that feature.
Yeah. Really.
Like that's something I use all the time.
You don't think you'll get used to using the space bar?
I'm sure eventually, but change is scary.
Okay.
Change is scary. Another thing that wasn't widely mentioned is the new chip and the ultra-wideband U1 chip inside the new phones. This is an interesting piece of technology. So it's mentioned on Apple's product pages. It's a chip that allows for far better positional tracking, location tracking than Bluetooth or cell tower triangulation or GPS even. Allows up to 4 centimeters of accuracy.
10 centimeters, 4 inches.
4 inches, 10 centimeters. But it can. I think under certain conditions, it can get pretty close to like even smaller than that.
Wait a minute now. I understand that it can tell how far away you are from something, but does it not also tell you the direction of it?
It does.
Like that's what blows my mind.
So the way it's being used currently, or the way it will be used initially, is for phones that have this. You can point at another person's iPhone. And
who has an 11?
Who has the 11, and they will recognize that they are pointed at each other, and that will then prioritize
airdrops or whatever.
Airdrop, exactly.
That's magic. I don't know how it does that.
It does it. Let me see if I remember this correctly. It does it by measuring. Bluetooth location tracking measured distance from you by signal strength.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it would send the signal, you would look at how strong in like milliamps the signal is coming from any object, but that was unsecure because it then allowed for those signals and that distance to be spoofed by stronger signals, like people generating stronger signals elsewhere. With this, it's signal time and back. So they emit the signal, and then it comes back to your phone, and they measure that time. Travel.
It's a
distance.
radio signal that's using the speed of light, which is, you can't really spoof it because it's just the speed of light.
Okay, but that tells me distance, not direction.
And when it comes back, they detect the angle of arrival of the radio wave.
Using what?
Technology.
All right. Once again.
It says, I actually don't understand this. It says they measure the phase shift that comes in by using multiple antennas. So by having multiple radio antennas as it comes back, they're able to compute the difference between them, the phases, and actually compute the angle.
So those additional antennas or whatever they're using it to detect is new to the 11.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
And the long-held rumor was that this is something that would be launched alongside these tags that Apple might be releasing, these kind of hardware pucks that get attached to things that then help you locate objects. It's like Find My Phone, but Find My Anything.
Are they active, the tags?
I don't know. I mean, they obviously did not announce it. And then the long-term benefits of this, once they refine the technology and once they are at scale, because there'll be tens of millions of these phones and devices, and presumably eventually hundreds of millions of these out in the world, is that it may have applications for Apple's future AR glasses. So the AR glasses will come with things positionally tracked in the world already. Not only your local objects, in which they'll use SLAM and computer vision and some computational vision to analyze, but also, objects very far away from you and out in the world, much more precise than GPS.
Great.
Yeah, they're kind of sneaking in all the AR stuff, all the killer app, all the foundations needed for killer app AR now, so that when they solve the optics problem,
They won't have a chicken and egg problem.
yeah.
That's smart.
Yeah, it sounds very Apple. On the software side, you had Apple Arcade reviews out. And in fact, some people got access to Apple Arcade early. Were able to actually purchase it and get access to.
Was that just an accident?
How do you do that?
I don't know. Are you going to try?
Well, it's got to be in the beta, right? You need the new iOS.
You do need the
Yeah.
iOS, yes. But reviewers got to play a sampling of their games, and Devendra Hardware over at Engadget had a great roundup of some of the favorite games. And actually, reading his article, I wouldn't say convinced me to get Apple Arcade, but makes me more interested for sure. Because the game, like the 4 or 5 games that are described, like I would play these.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would. I still don't know if I want to pay $5 a month.
Don't
to
you
play
get a
them.
free month? Why wouldn't you try?
I might
can't-
try them for a free month.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I can't wait for this. Just not for me though, for my kids. Just because they keep coming at me with these ad-supported games. Everything's free nowadays. You know?
And some of these games are going to make it onto the platforms. Not all of them are exclusive. Some will be like $25 on Switch or other consoles. So
Wait, but timed exclusive to arcade or no?
they come out arcade first, but they will come out later.
Okay.
On Switch, or they haven't announced prices, or so, some will be exclusive. Some will just be games that are part of the service.
Still curious how much Apple funded these games.
They will not say.
Fine, I know. I'm just curious.
Yeah. But it does sound like there's polish, and these could be games that I think they want to get people back in the culture of just playing more games on iOS, trying more, playing more. It can't just be what's that one, that the running one, the endless runner.
Oh yeah.
Which one? Cannibalt?
No, the one where you're running in the jungle away from the monkeys.
Yeah.
Jungle
kid-
Run,
Jungle Run sounds right.
some one of those.
Yeah.
Island Run.
Yeah.
I forget. But it can't just be that all the time now.
Yeah.
Other game news: Discord has ended its game subscription service. People just weren't using it.
That's too bad.
It was a service to sell games. They're kind of now really pushing their Nitro subscription service.
I wonder how many acquisition offers they get.
I'm sure it's a lot.
Yeah, because it's such a great company that you'd want to be a part of your service.
They need to also make money.
Yeah.
The Nitro service. And people are like, you see it way more. It's kind of crazy when you talk to developers, like, just join our Discord. It's like, it reminds me of 20 years ago when it's like, join our IRC.
But it's like
it was never mainstream.
it's
And not just developers. So it's like every person on Patreon.
That's what I was
seems
gonna
to
say.
have-
It's like integrated in Patreon.
Yes. It's community forums. It has replaced forums, the live chat room, and these channels, and it's done very well.
Or at least it lives side by side them.
Yeah.
It's replaced IRC.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure people still use IRC,
I know, certainly the nerds do, like the hardcore.
but that never hit mainstream.
no.
Let's jump forward to some movie stuff. Hey, this could have been a top story this week. Movie Pass finally dead.
September.
It's done.
Wait, it might already have happened.
September 14th. It's done.
14th. It's done.
It's done. I'm sorry. Not sorry.
Yeah.
Good
Not
riddance.
sorry. There it is. What a scam.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. Yeah, it was a bad idea.
We talked about the Pixel 4 event. This is October 15th. Google has sent out invites. So the expectation is Pixel 4, Pixel Book 2, new Google Assistant speakers.
Pixel 4 with Face ID. That's
Oh,
the
fa-
big.
yeah.
That's going to be the big component. Obviously, it has a bunch of new cameras on the back too. We've seen this sort of like square of cameras back there. So assume something on that front. But it's really the Face ID.
This
They're
is-
doing the reverse of what Apple did. Apple caught up on Night Sight. Google's catching up on Face ID.
Face Unlock, right? Which
Yeah.
Android phones have had for a while to various degrees
Yeah.
of success and security. It also, unlike Apple, none of this is secret. Like
No.
all of this stuff, people have the phones. Early people overseas have access somehow to the hardware. The videos are out showing some new features. This event,
They're out in the wild. Like there's
Yes.
so many photos of
Yeah.
people carrying them around. So
Yeah, this is just a formal announcement and more about pricing and availability. That's what
I'm
they're
curious
talking
about the Pixelbook too, because they've essentially exited the tablet world, and so I'm curious which way they're going with this laptop, because it was expensive, and I don't think Pixelbook 1 really did that well commercially. So very curious.
Mm-hmm.
Facebook has a new piece of hardware, the Portal TV, along with some other Portal devices. But this is the big flagship one is an attachment to your big screen TV, $150, and it turns your TV into a teleconferencing device. Seems like something that's
Wait, into a what?
into a teleconferencing device.
Oh.
So you can do face chat on your TV over Facebook Messenger, and you can do some watch-alongs. So you can watch Facebook Watch videos while also chatting with friends.
Is it walled though? So it's not portable to other services?
I think it is only Facebook Watch. And I think the chat is only through Messenger video chat and encrypted WhatsApp video calls.
I'm not surprised by that, but if it's walled in terms of the watch along content
Yeah.
providers, that's less interesting.
Yeah, much less interesting. And then they have some other stuff, Portal stuff with screens built in, swivel screens. They're up to $300.
I've
and
never
some
used one.
audio-only
Have you?
ones. I haven't. One of the big features was they did the AI tracking of faces, and that always seemed a little bit, unsettling to me.
Being watched?
Well, and also being tracked, that kind of face tracking.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think I need that. I like the idea if it's going to have a camera, I can walk up to it, right? Opt in to show your face rather than it knows where your face is and is putting a camera on you at all times. On the AR side, there are some AR Core updates. I decided to do this in Tech News and not VR Minute. And AR Core has a new, what they call persistent cloud anchors. These are ways that when it recognizes the world through its SLAM, you can now fix things in the world that's persistent and on the back end. So when you launch other apps or come back later, it will always lock a virtual object to that place. Neat. Right, it's kind of essential, a part of what you'll need for AR. If you're building a layer of mixed reality on top of reality, you're going to need a system not only to recognize the rooms you're in, like you imagine that the Facebook, like the Oculus Quest does, but also be able to anchor things on surfaces and have a semantic understanding of what those surfaces are.
Yeah, great.
Few rumors. Microsoft has an event coming up for Surface device. Now, I don't think this is going to be part of it, but they did patent a new type of hinge for future foldable Surface device, liquid hinges.
This is just from a patent, so
Yeah.
we should take it with a grain of salt. But the idea is that having this sort of liquid layer in between the mechanical hinge would help reduce stress on a foldable screen. I don't know if it works.
I mean, it's. I haven't heard of mechanical problems with Microsoft's detachable hinges.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they're thinking into the future for something that is maybe even less prone to failure or cheaper to make or something that's just easier to use. The Samsung Galaxy Note Fold is out on sale now, and reports are it's selling out in Korea at least, and people paying up to $4,000
what
for a Note Fold in Korea. That feels a little bit like a localized
Scarcity play?
phenomenon.
Yeah.
Right. I can't imagine that would be the case here in the States. A bit of Amazon news. This comes from Fast Company. Fast Company reports that Amazon, for their smart device Home Assistant, will in the near future allow people to submit user-generated trivia, answers to questions, and then have that pipe through the smart assistant.
Yeah, what does this mean? Like, I'm actually going to hear Bob Wilkin, explain to me.
No.
It will all be read through the existing smart assistant, but they will qualify it with, according to an Amazon customer, this fact.
Jeremy, do you remember Yahoo Answers?
Yeah, sure.
So I think Amazon is building a version of that.
You can ask questions on Amazon and get other customer responses, and Alexa will inform you when there's a new one. So the only new thing here is that she's going to actually read it to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that it will be more formalized as, the surfaced best case answer. I mean, I'm not afraid of this. All the Alexa stuff is human curated anyway. It's not like there's it's all information and facts as curated by the mega corporation.
Yeah.
I'm not terribly worried about this either.
Unless someone's gaming the system for some obscure fact and and some.
But gaming it for like, what is the thing you're
Yeah.
gaming around? Is
Right.
like as long as they get like basic facts, like how far the Earth is from the sun, like kind of stuff, right? I don't mind this.
I mean, even like to not get political about it, but even Wikipedia is curated to some extent by the people who kind of gatekeep.
Yep.
In that community, right? How much information is the biggest thing. Not whether a piece of fact is true, but like what gets through that curation process and how filled out a section could be. That's all. That is not really transparent to the user. And I read a really interesting story. Business Insider had a profile on Minecraft. I had no idea. Minecraft has grown in popularity since Microsoft bought it. And it has over 112 million players a month. Active players.
That's nuts.
That's a ridiculous number.
Isn't that crazy? Across all its platforms, though. Free on many platforms. Paid on many platforms. But there's an endurance to Minecraft. Like, even though there are phenomenons like Fortnite and PUBG and all other games that kids might play and adults might play, Minecraft seems to be the one that a lot of people just return to.
Yeah, it's like this is like the Lego of video games. It has stuck. Like there have been other games that have come along that have been construction sets, but like Facebook had social networks before it. It seems like Minecraft might be the one that really is going to stick around.
My question is, we've seen the ray traced Minecraft, how good it can look, and NVIDIA is pushing out like Minecraft RTX as a potential update, right? Optional upgrade. Could Minecraft survive if there was a graphical overhaul? Or does Minecraft need to be those?
There's so many graphical
graphics.
Overhauls you can apply to Minecraft. There's already texture packs galore.
And it's still, as long as it's blocky, as long as it's still these kind of the gameplay.
I don't think it's
Really?
look. I think that it is the mechanic of building and destroying anything. These voxels, the world being made of things that are malleable, and being so low res, being the cubes. I think the fact that it's so low res spatially that makes it so approachable.
People understand how things can be built because it's
Legos.
Because it's built giant building blocks. Alrighty. That does it for technology news, and I want to give a shout out to the other sponsor that makes this week's episode of the Stillian Test possible, and that's Evident. Evident is revolutionizing the way personal data is shared. Evident provides a simple, secure platform that lets businesses confidently know who they are dealing with without handling sensitive personal data. With connections to thousands of authoritative sources through a single API, Evident is the only platform that enables comprehensive, accurate, and up-to-date identity and credential verifications. Companies can create a solid foundation of trust and security on their platform, allowing them to seamlessly verify workers in less time and with more confidence. Businesses can stay up to date on any changes to relevant information, as well as readily adapt if and when compliance requirements evolve. Evident is bringing confidence and peace of mind to personal data interactions across the globe. Verify anything without the risk and expense of handling sensitive personal data, from identity verifications to background checks and everything in between. Businesses of all sizes can get the answers they need with Evident. Check out evidentid.com/test to sign up and get started immediately. That's Evident, evidentid.com/test to sign up and start running verifications in minutes.
Now it's time for a moment of science.
You remember Vanta Black?
Oh,
Black is Black.
the one that the artists got
Yes.
the rights to.
Yeah, there was he's not really an artist. This guy Anish Kapoor bought the rights to it and has been famously preventing artists from using it. Now, Vanta Black used essentially carbon nanotubes, so that when light hits it, it would bounce around these layered tubes, and the light would be dissipated as heat. And it captured 99.965% of the light that came through.
So close.
Well, MIT, in a recent blog post, some scientists there better aligned the carbon nanotubes vertically and have released a product that is 99.995% effective at reducing the incoming light. They grew it on this sort of like etched aluminum foil, which I think is interesting. You can actually go see this product.
Where?
Outside the New York Stack Exchange, and I'm putting a picture up. There is a art exhibit.
I think this is the kind of thing you have to see in person.
Yeah, there is an art exhibit. Yeah, putting it up on the screen is pretty hilarious. But they have in this art exhibit a $2 million diamond that's about 12 carats, and they coated it with this black material because art, capitalism, maybe, I don't know, something.
How? I mean, this sounds like the plot of the next Ocean's film. You just go in.
I feel like Nick Cage is coming in hot on a National Treasure ride.
It's like the Emperor's New Clothes, though. How are you to tell me there's a diamond there? I can't see it.
Oh, but you can kind of see it because it's so black that the black surrounding it is ridiculous. I want to highlight this other story that was from a while ago.
Wile E. Coyote.
Anish Kapoor with his Vanta Black partnered with an art gallery to make a Looney Tunes size black hole in a art exhibit. It was just super black and flat. There is an actual 8-foot hole that's part of this black hole just on the ground, and someone fell into it.
Wait. So the art exhibition was painting the black hole, and then next to it or adjacent to it in the same exhibit was a real hole?
No. There's a real hole, and it was painted with the Vanta Black, so it looks like two-dimensional. It looks Looney Tunes, but it's a real hole. You can't see the depth because there's no light being emitted from it. And it's an art exhibit, so some fool just like crossed some line and fell into it. But I just think it's
speaking of art, I saw that movie Velvet Buzzsaw over the weekend. Jake Gyllenhaal, Rene Russo is the director of Nightcrawler. It's a kind of a horror slasher satire on the world of like high art, modern art, and this feels very appropriate to that. Yeah, it's a great companion to the documentary The Price of Everything.
A tested listener actually submitted a story they wanted to hear about. Back in 2010, a set of physicists in Germany, led by Randolph Pohl, tried to see if they could get a better, more precise measurement of how big the proton is. And what they did is they took a hydrogen atom and replaced the electron surrounding it with a muon, which is a different elementary particle, and then actually use that muon to estimate the size of the proton at the centimeter based on just sort of like different measuring techniques. And they found that the proton size to be 0.84 femtometers in radius, which is 4% smaller than what we thought the proton size should be.
Interesting.
Which opened up the possibility of, is there some weird thing happening where a muon is actually interacting with a proton, which has never been thought of before. It's actually like somehow like exerting some force. They should not have any sort of force relationship in that kind of way. Well, a paper came out on September 6th from a team that measured this, again, led by Eric Hessels at the York University in Toronto. And he replicated the experiment, and he found the same exact measurement that the German team did.
4% off.
Yeah. And what it indicates is that what we thought the size of the proton was wrong. It's not that the proton actually shrunk by 4% when the muon was involved. It's just that the proton was smaller than we thought.
It's okay.
And we had a incorrect measurement. And so this basically eliminated the idea that the muon and proton were interacting in some way that led to a shrinking in size, but confirmed the fact that we had the wrong measurement for the proton. Like, think about what I'm saying, though. It's like we didn't know the size of the proton.
Well, by 4%.
That's a big, like, it's the proton. It's not some, like...
You got to cut scientists some slack, Kishore.
Never.
4% is nothing.
I don't know. It's a proton, though.
Everyone makes mistakes. Oh, yes,
It'd be like
do.
somebody coming out and be like, hey, that electron charge, we got that wrong.
By 4%.
Anyways, I thought that was just a fascinating story because it points to the fundamental nature of physics.
I understand scientists love learning that they're wrong because it means they've learned something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm putting up a video of what's called a chain cat shark. This is a shark that lives near the bottom of the ocean floor.
Kill it.
Yes. You might notice, if you're watching the screen, that this shark is glowing. It's like highly fluorescent in its nature. The reason actually came out in a recent story. So there are a number of fish that actually glow on the sea floor. It's not just this shark. There's a bunch of fish that do it. I'm going to try to pause the video on one of them right there. But why has always been in question. Like most of them were thought to have these proteins that actually cause the glowing. They discovered that it's not from a protein. It's actually from an amino acid called tryptophan. You've heard of tryptophan? Come on, Thanksgiving's coming up.
Yeah, turkey.
Which is an acid that goes to create proteins, but it creates this in this shark. It creates a compound called I'm going to pronounce this wrong. Kynurenine, which releases this green glow. So it's not for the reasons we expected. They found a different way, and this is horrifying. The reason it glows this color is that light at the bottom of this ocean has kind of a blue hue because of how it sort of reflects to the ocean floor. And this is the color it emits when we take video of it. It's crazy. I love science.
I love glowing animals. I love glow in the dark anyway, but the fact that they're alive is awesome.
Well, I'm about to have the ultimate glow experience. I can't make this stop. In the sense that I'm going to New Zealand in the spring, and I'm finally going to those glowworm caves.
Hey, they might be filming the new Lord of the Rings show there.
Wow. Oh, can I not? I won't be allowed to Hobbiton then?
No, I don't know if they're using the same locations.
You need to take Norm's new phone and do a night shot comparison for us of the glowworms.
Did you go to the glowworm caves?
I did not.
Oh,
no.
All right.
Do we have any more ads?
No.
All right.
The VR Minute. Virtual reality this week.
So probably the biggest story of VR from last week, we didn't get a chance to touch on it. It happened right after we recorded the podcast. But HTC has announced pre-sale availability and more details and launch for the HTC Vive Cosmos. This is not only the big follow-up, the successor to the original HTC Vive, but it actually replaces the HTC Vive in the marketplace. The Vive is going away. The Vive Pro will still be around. The Vive Pro I think, will still be around as well. But it's going to come out on October 3rd, so in like 2 weeks' time, and it's $700. So it's HTC Vive Cosmos. This is not the competitor to the Quest.
This is not standalone. This is not PC powered.
Yes.
All right.
For now, it gets a little bit complicated. It's PC. It runs off of a PC for now, and the biggest feature is that it's inside-out tracking. So in fact, it's probably more apt to compare it to the Rift S, although spec-wise, it is higher quality than the Rift S.
The strap looks a lot like the Halo strap. Looks just like the Rift S.
Halo strap like the Rift S, but there's also going to be a top strap as well if you want to get the top strap for your head. Built-in headphones, which they say are better quality than the Deluxe Audio head strap headphones, but they look very similar, at least from a design perspective. And it does inside-out tracking with 6 cameras.
That's a lot of cameras.
2 cameras in front, 2 cameras on the side, and then camera top and bottom. So people got to go hands-on with this last week. We're going to go soon after recording this podcast, so hopefully we'll have some impressions before the end of the week on the next episode of Projections. But it is available for pre-order $700, and will come out October 3rd. The screen resolution is pretty high. It's like 2880 by 1700, so 100 pixels taller than what you'd find on the Vive Pro or the Valve Index, and it is an LCD with RGB stripe subpixels. I can't wait to try this on. It will be, of course, compatible with all Steam VR games, in addition to the Viveport stuff, Viveport Infinity, and they also are launching this new Viveport Origin loading area that you get when you put the headset on.
What about controllers?
So it's controllers, if you look at them, they look very, very similar to the Oculus Touch controllers. But they're not tracked with kind of invisible IR light. They're tracked with an active light. The inside-out tracking looks at this pattern that's on the ring of the controllers, and that's how you get positional tracking. Another big difference, it will take 2 AA batteries per controller as opposed to 1 on the Oculus Touch.
What do you mean active light? How does
That white is
Yep.
bright. It lights up.
Okay, but I mean the touch controllers have IR LEDs
Yes,
that
but
light
you
up.
can't see them. I guess
Okay.
visual, like visible.
Got it.
Visible
Got it.
light in the visible spectrum, and that might be one of the reasons it takes more power.
So is
And it's
this
slightly heavier?
Is this shape that the light has been carved into the controller? Is that like a marker? Is it like recognizing
I think
that shape?
That's what it is. Yeah.
Interesting.
I think that is it's marker, which has been designed obviously to work at different angles.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really curious how fast it tracks the controllers. You know, there's a lot of, just because you have the field of view, even if you have like 310 degrees coverage on your inside-out tracking cameras, it's still software that allows, you know, the approximation of where your hands are behind your head when you're doing something like putting holstering a gun behind your head or putting your hands behind your back, and how far that snaps back in, and also how close you can get the controllers to your head. These are all problems that we had, or not we had, that people noticed with the Rift S, inadequacies that they then tried to address and patch with software updates.
I'm glad that they went with a touch-like design, because Oculus was not first to market with motion controllers.
No.
Vive was.
Yeah.
By a long time.
Yeah.
By almost a year. And they could have very easily just stuck with their guns and stuck with the Vive controller, but the touch I think is superior. And now we have index controllers, which are more in line with the touch, and now these. So I think that's good that there's a greater sense of parity.
I'm really curious the feel of the controllers, not only the heft, but also how the thumbstick feels, because it is a thumbstick now, not a touch pad. The grip was the thing that a lot of people did not like about the 2-button grip on the side of the Vive Wand. So how the grip button works here. On the touch controllers, the grip is an analog grip, right? You can like use your middle finger and you get a lot of analog control, so you can like see your virtual hands opening and closing. Is that going to be the case? There's going to be more throw on that button. There are also 2 trigger buttons. There's a shoulder button, and I'm really curious.
Oh, really?
What games will support a second trigger button, or what will that replace? That, right? It's a lot of different opportunities here for this controller, and also because it's Steam VR compatible. In the future, they're going to have a faceplate attachment. We replace the 6 camera system, replace at least the 4 cameras on the faceplate with Steam with Lighthouse trackers. Lighthouse.
So it doesn't have any embedded Lighthouse trackers.
No, this one doesn't.
So you have to add that.
Yeah, but presumably, if people like this headset,
Yeah.
You'll be able to use it with Vive Index controllers, Knuckles controllers in the future, which might be a preference for some people for some games.
I imagine it being Steam that you'll be able to use it without modifying the headset. Like you could
That's
use
what I would hope.
the inside-out tracking combined with
But then you need the radio.
controller
The controller
tracking.
needs to send, because they're all Bluetooth, right? Your Vive trackers are being sent to the headset. Although on the old Vive Pucks, you would just plug in the USB key, right? So
Yeah.
why can't you have the USB key
We'll ask.
still plug in, right, and have Vive Index controllers, still give you that. These are things that we're going to ask HTC when we chat with them. The other thing, I don't think they're really talking about it, but there will be an attachment that lets you then play games off of a smartphone, run them off a smartphone, and then pipe them over. So this becomes a little more of a standalone headset.
Got it.
Will be compatible with the wireless system they released
the
earlier.
eye or whatever.
No, not the eye tracking. The Vive wireless.
Oh, right.
But you need the Vive Pro wireless adapter for that because of the resolution. Yeah. So again, pre-orders $700, and it will come out October 3rd. Last week, I also got to go hands-on. Well, I did get to go hands-on with Tilt 5
Hot
finally.
dog. Hot
yeah.
dog.
Went to Tilt 5's offices down in Santa Clara and got to demo the latest version of their prototype. They're going to do a Kickstarter relatively soon. I am so excited for this. I think Cast AR launched as a Kickstarter in 2013.
Yeah.
And we were impressed by like their take on AR then, the idea of using retroreflectors and bouncing light off a projector back into your eye.
Let's just quickly tell her story because I think it's fascinating. She was at Valve.
Yeah, Jerry Ellsworth.
Jerry Ellsworth has a long history with hardware manufacturing, was hired at Valve, and she was working on their VR stuff before they'd launched anything. And I guess she and other engineers had developed this interesting, approach to augmented reality that was unlike anything else that anyone else was doing. Valve decided they weren't interested, and they, kindly let her go. But they allowed her to take this tech with her, and she spun that into a Kickstarter, like you said, years ago.
Successful Kickstarter.
Yeah, and I think I was a backer. You were probably a backer, and then they didn't end up manufacturing. They refunded everybody their money.
They did. I mean, they did ship like dev units.
Yeah,
but then I think for one reason or another, it didn't work out, right? So they did refund, like you said, and they've kind of been using that same technology as a foundation for this new company, Tilt 5, which the thing I can say, and you'll watch this in the video when we get to put it out, is that even though the fundamentals are the same, it's basically all new hardware. And I'm glad it's coming out next year, and we're getting the 2020 version as opposed to the 2014, 2015 version.
So the approach is everyone wears goggles that have both projectors, two projectors, stereo projectors, and lenses that only take one of the projectors back. And the light from the projector bounces off retroflective material, which is the same stuff that they use on stop signs to make the light come directly back to you from your headlight.
Mm-hmm.
And that will potentially be like a board game that everyone can sit around and, wearing their own headsets, see unique perspectives on an augmented board game or whatever that becomes.
The really interesting thing I got from this, I mean, the board game design is real smart. They've established these parameters for game design where everyone's going to have this essentially 2 foot by 2 foot board with tracking markers, visual markers, right? So telling developers that they're going to work with to design for this tabletop environment is a good constraint, right? Then you're not requiring users to have the retroflecting material all over your house.
Right.
You're designing for tabletop play, and that works for social gaming. It's a lot of easy like wins there.
And the trackers, how does that work?
You mean the controller?
The fiducial markers that give you the plane that the board is
There
on.
are 2 cameras looking outward from the glasses as well. One with IR and one with just global shutter, high frame rate computer vision cameras, and they see the trackers
that are built into the retroflective material.
Yes, they're built into the border, so it's like a designed border.
Got it.
Around the piece that you put down, and then also can do like hand tracking as well, so developers can tap into that. I think they're just going to use like third-party hand tracking, which is really good. It's like Google hand tracking tech, and then you can have hand tracking for your interactions.
What did you play? Was it like dungeon style?
They had
game?
some tech demos, so the physics tech demos. They had like their version of what like an RPG would look like, and they had some a Marble Madness style game. They're working with a bunch of devs that they'll be in time. The devs will announce what games, but the idea is that when this ships early next year, hopefully in the spring, that there'll be a library of games, and they just plug it into your computer, so it just runs off of. You just buy the game on Steam VR.
That's an important detail.
It's not a store. They're not doing like a Tilt 5 store that you have to buy.
But more importantly, the device has no compute.
Yes.
So you do plug into a laptop or a PC.
Yes.
Or an Android phone, you said?
It's Android phone USB-C, so it can run off the phone. And there's some interesting tech stuff that they're doing to make it run off of the power of a phone, even though they're rendering a pretty wide field of view and they're rendering at a high frame rate. And that's all covered in the video.
I tried Cast AR years ago, but I haven't tried the new one. And the neat thing about it is, like, unlike every other AR headset that we use, they always use optical combiners or other methods that create light in the lenses. What's different about this is the light is actually there. It's actually on the table. It's where it's actually emanating from, or supposed to be emanating from.
That and that was something that was difficult for my head to wrap around, because yes, it's the projectors are in the glasses, and they're bouncing and reflecting off of like a one-way mirror, essentially, where your eyes are. So that's why it always bounces back directly into your eyes. But essentially, the light source you can think of as being on the surface, on the material, the retroreflective material. Now, because of the way the retroreflective material on a microscopic level, the surface texture of it, the bundles of light coming back from that are not necessarily diffused, but they're kind of spread over almost different focal lengths. And so what they get, as it was explained to me, is you get like a free light field almost.
Right.
Because light is bouncing from when it comes by the time it comes back to your eyes, you're getting rays that are at a focal length that are 4 feet from you, 3 feet from you, 1 feet from you, as close to your eye, right? So when you have virtual augmented objects, a floating ball, for example, that looks like it's elevated 5 inches above the table or something, that will be in focus no matter how close you put your head to it. And objects behind it, if you shift your focus, will also be in focus. You solve accommodation divergence for free because of the material, because of the way the light's physically bouncing off of the material.
I would get that if you're talking about things bouncing, like if you're placing augmented objects on the surface of the material itself. That to me solves accommodation divergence. I don't understand how, if you're pushing something, if you're levitating something off of that surface, why that would be at the correct plane.
And that is really hard for me to wrap my head around. Like think of the object that's being rendered above the surface. It's supposed to be floating a foot from the surface. Technically, it's still the same. It's just two different views of an object. Accommodation, right? Two different views of an object that's on the surface. But because the way the rays have bounced off, the distance traveled, it looks like it actually is there because you're getting light at all the distances.
What do you think of the controller with the little wand? It's like a Harry Potter wand.
Yeah, it's a wand. It's a 6-DoF controller, which is a good thing. It's definitely not a gamepad. I think they're intentionally not making a gamepad, and if you want to use a gamepad, you can just plug in a gamepad.
Yeah,
right? I guess that's the benefit.
These are dev kits.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Well, I think they're designing the games also to have the one interaction and to poke at things and point at things and laser point at things or blast at things. So they'll have a trigger, have a thumbstick. But I think the potential is, I think people are going to find things they want to interact with the most, whether it's with hands or with a traditional gamepad. I'm bummed that it's not like a tracked gamepad, but you could have IMUs in a gamepad that can give you that type of movement anyway. Yeah, I don't know how much direct interaction developers are going to want you to have with the augmented objects, like poke at a thing or point at a thing, rather than like laser pointing.
Right.
Yeah. I still see the heart of this being the social gaming aspect of it. It's not about you like playing it by yourself. In which case, like the kind of social games I expect are like very tabletop-y type games where you're not looking for like fine control. You're looking to like generally push stuff around.
But you want to be able to point
out
at things. So you have this shared experience. If all of us have this wand and we're all kind of laser pointing at the board, strategizing, right? We want that to be a shared
It has
thing.
to work, but I don't think you need like the full functionality of a gamepad or even like a fully tracked controller.
Well, and to Kishore's point about you want to push things around in a social gaming environment, can you talk about the invisible markers?
Oh, yeah. So one of the things they demoed is they're designing basically QR code style pucks that you can throw on. So you can like throw these pucks on, and then things will happen because the system recognizes an object is now relative to the game board on the game board. And I think they're even experimenting with like invisible ink for those because there's IR cameras on this. So you could look at something that looks like a magic card, whatever CCG card, but it will have a QR code, a marker, and then you can throw that card in. So it's a real blend of, it's what augmented reality should be. It's a blend of the things you would see in the real world and also this projected layer on top of it. The other thing was, I think they're really pushing for asymmetrical games, right? So we're not everyone has to be in AR to play the game.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Right? So someone could be on a tablet.
I want this from pinball. I want pinball to be internet connected, and I want to like take play a multiplayer game against someone in Wisconsin.
And that's what they're talking about, right? Because if you and I are cross country and we all have the headset or the Tilt 5 goggles and also a board,
Yeah.
as long as we're sitting in the right place relative to each other, I could see what you're pointing at, and I can see your character, and it's as if you're, why not then throw in a FaceTime tablet right there, and we have a telepresence tabletop game.
People have done this with chess for decades.
Yes. It's going to be $300. Start at $300 when they do their Kickstarter. We'll have a full interview with Jerry and our hands-on impressions and all that stuff in a video coming soon.
Very cool.
That I think. God, there's so much VR news. I mean, OC6 is next week,
Yes.
so we'll probably be doing this podcast from Oculus Connect 6. Whatever announcements they are going to announce there. The new head of AR/VR, or the current head of AR/VR, has been there, Boz, for a while, tweeted about anticipation for OC6. He's also, now they've kind of combined all of their research in their Facebook Reality Labs. And he said on a Twitter thread they will be talking about both VR and AR at OC6.
It is the name of the department.
Yeah. And then on the Valve side, oh my God, so much. There was high anticipation for a lecture at DigiPen at the University of the Game Design School, because one
talk.
No
one likes a lecture. No one likes to be lectured
they're
to.
technically lectures. Guest lecture.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
A guest talk over DigiPen from Carrie Davis, who is a designer at Valve, and the billing for this talk alluded to the fact that he would be talking about his work on flagship VR game, Valve's flagship VR game, which is an acknowledgement of what they had announced earlier in the year, something hopefully shipping this year. Now, there was no announcement. Let's get this out of the way. There was no confirmation on release date. There are live Twitter threads, like live blogging of this talk. There's a guerrilla video of this talk. DigiPen recorded it, but they haven't put out the video yet. But basically, it was about the challenges of designing interaction models for VR, specifically referencing door design was the primary example. And designing something as seemingly simple as the concept of a door is actually very difficult in VR.
For instance, one element of that is the sound. And he talked about how previously, if you open a door in a video game, it plays a sound clip because they know how long it takes for that animation to finish of the door swinging open.
Right.
But in VR, you can grab the door and go quickly. You can go back and forth. You can slam it. And so now all of their sounds for that kind of interaction, it has to be done procedurally.
Right. And then also which way the door swings. Whether doors are one way or whether they're two ways. You don't want users to push their hands through the doors. Whether there's a latching mechanism, whether you have to turn the handles.
Right.
And so all these things are about building essentially a new reality, building the mechanics of a reality in a game environment. And then the clever cheats and the clever things that as game designers they can do to shortcut these interactions without you noticing,
Right?
Because things you take for granted, the fact that once you twist a doorknob, you can swing a door, and like things don't actually latch, like the mechanisms can cheat. The only confirmation is that there will be doors.
Yeah, interesting talk. One that could have been done 3 years ago. Nothing was announced. It was.
I mean, I don't know if it could have been done.
Why
2
not?
years ago.
This is like the lab was out. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing. Thinking about doors and VR level design is something that people have been doing for years now, and this was an extension of that.
This type of door is not a door I would see in an Aperture Labs environment. Or are there? I guess in the office parts of the lab.
I don't think you have seen any final assets in.
But I'm just thinking of like Robot Repair Lab. I'm thinking of the lab.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Aperture, the hand test, right? The hand lab. None of those have these type of swinging doors. I'm still really hoping it's Left 4 Dead. I think doors are an essential part of the Left 4 Dead gaming experience. Closing doors behind you, opening doors in new environments.
Yeah, well, also like that Pavlov mode where you are props.
Yeah,
You can go in that office space, and if you forget to close that door, to tell.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
but that's different than
That's
design. But it's just that like doors are important.
I guess doors are important. Doors are very important. And he did say that he doesn't know if they'll be shipping this year. I think that's the plan, but that's a decision for people
Right.
above his pay grade.
He'll
and
find out
he's-
the day that before they announce.
Yes, exactly. It's an interesting talk. There are bits of it on YouTube and there are Twitter threads, like we said, that you can follow. I think that's all we have time for this week. There's so much more to talk about.
All VR episode next week, though.
Yes.
All
So
VR,
get into it.
all
Yes.
the time.
Yes.
We
Yes.
hope to have a special guest on the show.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. It'll be very fun. Oh, I will give a shout out. There was a post on the Reddit / Arculus, a game called Which Way is Down that someone has made, Cryptic Ink.
That sounds horrifying.
It's looks really fun. It's basically the world turned upside down and you are climbing, you're trying not to fall into the abyss, into the sky, and you're on trees, upside down on trees, with gravity pulling you up, I guess. And you're jumping from trees. You're climbing with a climbing mechanism, and you're jumping using an axe to basically hook yourself, like a climbing hook.
Is this VR?
It's in VR. Yeah.
Wow.
On trees.
All right. I like it.
I like it too. I like the idea, and the idea that you can maybe like chop a tree branch and climb, and then jump, and then use this axe to then latch onto things and then climb. But some surfaces are not climbable, and yeah, it looks like a novel concept. I like it. That does it for this week's podcast. We have an outro.
Guess who's back? This one's called Robotic.
Let's hear it.
Oh, maybe I'll turn the sound on first. Yes, yeah. Unmute. Gonna play it now. Hi there. Oh, can't close the laptop.
Didn't see you.
Cosplayer crossover. It was probably the third most popular outfit I saw. There was a lot of Bob Rosses. Yeah. Bob Ross. Yeah. Bob Ross Dalek, one of the hits of the con that was just wandering around. Yeah.
Is that robotic or is he walking around?
This one, he was walking around. There were robotic Daleks all over.
And for people listening, the Dalek is the lower half of the costume, with the top half being the more traditional Bob Ross of the wig and the paint palette.
Is that robotic or is he walking around?
He was walking around. Bob Ross.
Robotic?
Yeah, just wandering around. But it's not Davros the Dalek, it's Bobros the Dalek.
Robotic or is he walking around? Robotic?
Yeah.
Is that Jawa for checkmate?
They said a week ago, but it was 9 days ago.
Yeah, we played it last week.
It's worth playing again.
It's good.
All right.
It's a good one. Thanks a lot. See you next week.